guys, welcome to the next episode of Real Talk Russ. Today we have a special guest for you guys, which we're all excited for. But first, we have just me, Russ. I'm your host, and our good friend Ty. We already said we're not doing the the subtleties. We're just going straight into his Ty. And then this episode, of course, is brought to you guys by Mad Rabbit Tattoo. So you guys already know what that's all about. If you want to buy their product, go to madrabbit.com, and for 20% off your order, plug in Real Talk Russ, and you'll get you 20% off the discount code. So,
great deal.
Really, really good deal. Their products are amazing, guys. We all use them, so give them a check. Now, the next thing, what you guys have been waiting for, our guest, our good friend, Mr. Dalton Simons is going to be joining us today. What's up, brother? This will be pretty cool, man. This will be pretty cool.
Long time coming.
Yeah.
I know. So for those of you that know, Dalton is an actor, stuntman, and now stunt coordinator. So he's pretty big in that industry, and he's done a lot of things. What you probably most recognize him from is going to be The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So as you guys can see, Walking Dead right here, right? He was big on that show. What season did you start in, dude?
We started season 5, and then we finished out we finished out the rest of that show. So all the way to season 11 or 12, but then I could get
a lot of
into
seasons.
Yeah, a lot of seasons. And then there's like spin-offs and stuff too, which is like crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and then like we have some big movies too, like Spider-Man: Homecoming. You worked on. What are some of the other ones, man?
Ooh.
I know, right? We're gonna jog your memory.
Baywatch. I was on Baywatch for a couple weeks. I was on Spider-Man. J. Edgar was my first film that I was in.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
I didn't even know that about you.
Yeah. That was Clint Eastwood. And funny story about that is my dad's never worked with Clint Eastwood in his entire career, and it was like my fourth job. At 18 years old, I worked with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, it's only Clint Eastwood. No big thing.
Yeah.
That was Leonardo DiCaprio too, right?
Yeah,
Leo was in that.
Awesome.
Damn, dude. Yeah. It's for your first one, dude. I'd have like fucking been pissing my pants, dude. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that.
Oh yeah, 18 years old, and then like, hey, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
All right. What do you want me to do? Okay. And I didn't do it. I was so shell shocked. I messed that whole gag up. But he's only like 1 or 2 takes, and then you're done. And that was a 1 take, and he's like, it was good enough. We're moving on.
Damn. Dude.
All right.
That's cool. Yeah, and then Baby Driver, right? That was another one you did?
Yeah, I was in Baby Driver. What else was I in?
There's some good ones in there, though.
Oh, I gotta go look at my resume. But
That's
yeah,
all
I think
good.
quite a few.
Do you have any upcoming that you're working on, or can we talk about that?
Twister. I was in Twister. Twister comes out next month, June 19th, I think, or something like that. I was in that. Double one of the mains on there.
Which is the dude from Top Gun 2, I think, right?
No, I wasn't
Not him?
doubling him. That was Glenn Powell. And no, I didn't double him. I doubled an English dude. I forget his name. Harry Patton something.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's
Harry Patton.
It's kind of funny because like we said an English dude. I don't know you for an English accent, but it doesn't matter. Like the funny thing is, Tyler. And here's a funny story on this one. Like so Don's a good friend of ours, and Tyler for some reason calls him Don Dalton. Don't know why. Don't know how this joke started.
That's not what I call him.
No, but now he like wanted to do like this like professional like Mexican like accent like Don Dalton, but instead he goes like Don Dalton. He sounds like a poo from The Simpsons, and I'm like, why is he Don Dalton? No one knows.
It's Don Dalton.
Yeah.
Don Dalton. That's his name, and it's caught on with everybody. It's your name now.
It's my nickname.
I just call him the Don. He's just the Don.
Yeah.
Like, like he's like the Godfather of the Don. He's the Don. But no, yeah. So anyway, getting into that, like we're getting all sidetracked on that.
Oh, we're gonna get sidetracked a lot today.
Oh,
I can tell that.
Yeah.
We're gonna be left and right.
So one of the cool things I kind of want to ask you, like, what got you started in the industry, right? Because I can tell you what was kind of interesting is, well, you and I just recently did something together. Mm-hmm. So we just worked on a production together, which is pretty cool. We won't talk about that too much, but we're going to just kind of lead into that. So that was essentially something that was interesting for me to kind of get in there and see what that world was like, and which is fun. It was pretty cool. And maybe we could throw some behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, you can throw it.
Yeah, we'll throw some behind the scenes
No
stuff.
one's ever seen that film.
Okay.
I guarantee you there will be about 25 people that see it, and those are all the people that worked on it.
Yeah. So we'll post that up. But anyway, like the whole point is that's kind of like an introduction for us and how we got started. Well, rather for me. But for Dalton, like, what was that like for you, dude? Like, when you first got started, kind of walk us through that.
I always knew I was going to do stunts. I just didn't know when I was going to get started in it. But instead of going to college, I was like, I'm not going to college. I'm not going to spend my getting debt. Just might as well go straight into it. Eventually, I was going to follow my dad's footsteps. So I was like, might as well start when I was 18. I already grew up in it. Got to see him do some of the biggest stuff I've ever seen.
So your dad was kind of like...
Yeah, he didn't push me into it, but I already had that lifestyle of riding bikes, horses, and martial arts, and not getting paid to do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Essentially, what we get paid to do is do really dumb stuff that the average person doesn't think is safe.
In here, we're going to insert a picture of him, like, on fire. Yeah. Like literally, he's been on fire falling off a building. Pretty crazy.
And no person in their right mind goes, that sounds like fun. In my mind, I'm like, that sounds like a great time. Let's do it. When? I grew up in that world. My dad's been in it for now he's been in it for 40 years.
Which we're going to have to get him on too, dude, because he's got some crazy stories.
Yeah, he's got some crazy ones. And one that really sticks out to my mind is on Hellboy. I don't know if you guys remember that bridge sequence where they cross the bridge, this big giant thing that goes back and forth. Well, there's the actor that's holding the dead dude on his back when my dad doubled it. They actually built that whole set practical, and they had each piece falling left and right on that set. So as those actors are running across the bridge, it's actual pieces falling left and right.
Oh.
And my dad's like, okay, well, he's coordinating, he's running the show. He goes, all right, so I'll get to find a double for him. The director just looks at him and goes, yeah, you. He's like, I can't do that. I'm going to pay someone to bring someone else to do that. He goes, no, you're going to do it. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. But the bridge is, I want to say, 25 feet tall. And when it hits, the pendulum hits, it's all green screen, so obviously the pendulum doesn't hit it. Falls all the way. My dad rides the whole thing. He goes right into like 100 by 100 cardboard box section, and it was the craziest thing. I'm 10, 11 years old watching my dad just go. I'm like, how did he do that? So that's crazy. For me, that's one of my crazier stories that I've seen him do. And then obviously he's done a lot more crazy stuff that I haven't seen. But
yeah.
So with that, like witnessing that as a kid, is that when it like clicked for you, where this is where I want to do something like this?
Yeah.
Was it for me? For me, if I would see it, it was like, oh, my dad's in movies. My dad's doing this, and was it kind of similar to that? Like, was it like the shock of being in a movie that we all go see, in theaters, or is it just your dad, your hero? And
I think I was never shocked by anything. I think it was because I grew up in that world. Mm-hmm. I was numb to that feeling, like where. Now, if I brought you guys, like I brought Russ in on set, there's a whole world, within a world. Yeah. And I grew up in that, so there was no shock factor in that.
Yeah.
And I just knew that I already wanted to do that growing up. It's like anything. I wanted to follow my dad's footsteps. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that just started going faster, but my dad never pushed me into that world per se. I just happened to do a lot of stuff that made me go into that world.
Okay.
That's actually a really good point too, because I think, and we even kind of covered this on the first episode with like introductions to ourselves, where my dad was in the Marines, dude, and I was numb to that. Like I felt like I just grew up with that, right? Like just always seeing it. So I relate to that. Even if it's a whole different thing, I actually I could definitely relate to that. Just of you grew up around it, dude. Yeah. So even I know me as a kid, I'd be like, oh, Hellboy, that's bad. That's awesome because I saw the movie, you saw the movie, that's really cool. Yeah. But to you, it was more just like, damn, what that line of work was just something that was interesting at that point. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, what's crazy is you actually see my dad play himself in that that film. It's just that came up to me. When the girl loses herself in the mental hospital and that building blows up, he's one of the dudes eating the pizza.
So we're gonna look.
The whole hallway.
We gotta look for that clip and insert that in there.
Yeah, my dad just having a big old pizza, takes a big old bite, and then flames coming right out and he ducks under the frame. And then what's crazy too is the one of the doubles is sitting next to him.
Yeah.
And he was doubling. I forget who he was playing. I think he was playing one of the bad alien dudes, the creature stuff.
Yeah.
But if you go back and watch that, the two dudes eating pizza, one of them's my dad. The one that has less hair is my dad.
Nice.
Dude, that's funny. So then, when you first got started, what was the first role you did? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, it was on Medium, and it was on my 18th birthday. It was my first.
The show
SAG,
Medium?
Yeah,
My parents used to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom, she used to watch
On
it.
my 18th birthday, literally on the day, I actually got my SAG card on that show because I did a bunch of like kid stuff because they had all the child actors on that show. I got to be in classrooms with them and all that stuff as background. But it worked out that on my 18th birthday, we had an office collapse. It's one of her visions where she sees like the office room collapse and all the things fall down. Well, they had me playing a male voice. I was walking through, all shell shocked, and then all of a sudden the room collapsed, and you see me jump out the room.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to stay in there, but like they told me last second, said, "No, run!" And I ran out of the shot. That was my first SAG stunt contract that I got paid to do. And that was on my 18th birthday. And when I opened up that check, I was like, "What? Yeah, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life."
It's like as long as he didn't get crushed by like the ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, it's all fake. It's foam. It's
Oh, sure, okay. I don't know why I pictured like an actual like wooden ceiling.
Still.
Yeah, right.
Oh, it will rattle your brain if you get hit in the head with it. But
Yeah. Well, even like after the stuff we saw, like when I was with you on set, I'm like, yeah, some of this stuff could hurt, man.
Yeah.
Like it could, you know. Like,
oh yeah, there people get hurt all the time.
It's
Yeah.
like wrestling. It still looks like it's painful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you still end up in the hospital from time to time.
Do you get like creativity? Like you can use your own kind of imagination when you're doing stunts, or is it just very scripted?
Usually that's like when the coordinator and the director, the ADs, they all do their scouts. They read the script. Obviously, when you read the script, it doesn't translate well sometimes to practicality. So when you're at the scenes or you're at the locations that this is going to take place, that's when you guys start talking with like the director and producers. You start coming up with like an idea of a concept of what's going to happen. If it's a fight sequence, it's how many beats is this fight? How long do we want this fight to go for?
Yeah.
And then usually the coordinator will have either a fight coordinator there with him, and then he will give him the parameters of what's going to happen, what needs to happen. Here's the sides for that scene, and they'll go off and they'll do a previs, and then they'll come back with that footage and we'll show the director and all that stuff. So that's kind of the creative aspect. With us, we can go crazy because we'll get paid a lot more. The crazier the gag is, the more money that we'll make. So if we want to flip a car, it's this much. If we want multiple cars flying, it's going to cost you that much. So it really comes down to how much money they're willing to spend for that action.
So are you in the cars when they flip? Like if you
Oh yeah, there's a full cage.
Okay, like a roll bar.
There's a roll cage and everything in it. There's 5-point harness that goes in your helmet. So you got like the catcher's shin pads on because your legs will always hit the underside of where the steering wheel is.
broken shin. You know.
Yeah, so you got to protect your shins. You have, I think, some guys wear it's called Nomex, and then they wear like an actual like NASCAR driving suit.
Okay.
Fire retardant.
Yeah, it's basically just a safety precaution, and it obviously goes in the helmet. There's a helmet, everything in it. But whoever is going to do that gag is usually in charge of their car. So they'll be with special effects, making sure the cages are checked, making sure everything's in there. They sit in the seat and they make sure all the harnesses sit right. So it's comes down to them on that.
It's insane, but it's like there's a whole nother world that just goes into that one aspect of a film or like a show, whatever that they're filming. It's like a whole nother, right? Like it's this whole like stunts is its whole own world. Sorry, I can't even talk. Just like the act, you know, like everything is gonna be separate, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I had no, like, you know, it sounds dumb, dude, but I honestly had no clue.
Yeah. Usually you have about 15 meetings about something. You'll have the main meeting with the producers and directors. You have all the department heads there. And then when that meeting's over, then you have your side meetings with the directors and then with costumes and with all these other departments that you need to get a hold of, which is like, usually it's makeup, wardrobe, if anything, and then producers and directors. It's just, you'll have your sub meetings with everybody.
And these days go long, right? Like they're
It can, and sometimes it doesn't. Like I mean, you remember I had a meeting and it lasted all of 15 minutes. That was it, and we just talked about some of the.
But you were there a lot longer than I was. Like we were there like mid. It was like maybe like 1, 2 in the afternoon, and then it went all the way. Like I left and he was still there till like 3 in the morning. Yeah. See?
Yeah.
So those could be some long days, but
That's what's crazy. Like we go to the movies, like especially action movies, we go there for those scenes, right? Like where the cars flipping, doing all that. But we never, like to Russ's point, we never think about what goes into that. We're just like, oh,
what's behind that?
Yeah, you know. And so that's what's so interesting to me about what you do is like all the behind the scenes parts of it, you know, like flipping cars. Like to me, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like hey, go get in that car and it's gonna roll. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, get fucked. I'm not doing it, man.
No.
Yeah, like I watched him on footage, and it was on The Walking Dead. Because you were Daryl Stunt Devil. I'm watching him driving or riding rather the motorcycle,
yeah.
and then he like you slid it right, you laid it
Laid it
down,
down.
and I'm like, dude, like you couldn't pay me enough to like accidentally do that. And someone's like, hey, you may crash. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You know, like, but he
No, I
actually
crashed.
Yeah, you go and I'm like, damn, and he gets up. I'm like, that's insane, dude. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So the other thing too that I learned about Dalton a couple years ago, but it was like you're in martial arts, right?
Yeah, I got my first degree in Taekwondo when I was 16, and then I went to another guy's gym and got a training in black with him for like mixed martial arts, so boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, just all around with him.
Yeah.
And then I stopped training. It's kind of downfall. It's just like we were talking about it earlier. Like you just become tired of it and bored of it, and so that's what happened to me.
So with like in that specific, because you're talking about like stunt coordinating, and then they have like fight coordinators. Do you like how does that work? So like if you know, like say you're a martial artist, right? You know you're trained. Do they hire guys specifically for those roles too?
Yes, if it's a fight heavy movie, you're going to lean more towards the fighter type stunt guys.
Yeah.
So it benefits to have that in your background.
Yeah, it does.
So it's like on your resume.
But I don't broadcast it because I'm not actively training. That's one thing that makes I try to be truthful of what my skill sets are.
Yeah.
Is if I'm not actively training, I'm not going to advertise that I'm that kind of guy.
That makes
But
sense.
I can do like a western. Westerns are just bar brawls.
Bar brawls,
And
yeah.
it's those are easier. But if it's like the John Wick and they're doing all those crazy moves, I can't do that. I mean, I could if you give me a couple months to train and actively like get in shape to do that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not. That's not my style. I like to ride horses, bikes, or do fire burns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are people that actively train that every day. That is their life, is
Yeah.
doing that stuff.
Because we've seen like martial artists who go from like UFC, right, Bellator, they go from that and they slowly dive into acting, where they're like doing fight scenes and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. I can see how that translates, but like where my brain naturally goes, because like obviously I'm trained, I know how to fight, and then I go like, would I be able to pull that punch in time so I don't actually hit the guy? You know, would I be able to like take someone down without actually like body slamming him into the ground and he's like laid out? Like, yeah, because that takes a degree of skill, and in all honesty, I'd say even more, because you're faking it but not, you know, and it's like pulling a punch just in time so you don't actually hit the guy.
We get punched all the time. It happens. No, it happens. Actors usually punch. It's bad if a stunt person punches the actor. That's not usually good.
Yeah.
But if we get punched, it's fine.
What was it like that movie with Roadhouse? Post Malone was talking about he had like I think 2 broken ribs from that
It
opening
happens.
scene, dude.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, he was hurting.
Yeah.
And he was talking about just being tired from just throwing fake punches, and he was like he could barely hold his arms after a while.
Yeah.
Which, granted, it's not anything he does. I mean, he's on the mic. He's not swinging his arms, being physically active. So I could see he'd be awesome to get on too. I could see how that would be, but man, dude, that's a whole nother ball game, dude.
Yeah. So how do you keep yourself in shape for those kind of things? Like what do you do for that?
Well, I live on a ranch, so I got the ranch body. Riding horses with my wife, helping her with all the wagons and stuff like that, and usually just walking around and then moving bales of hay all the time, or I just kind of
Dude, you never, as long as I've known you, man, you never have a day off. Like, you're always
There's
doing
always something
something.
going
Yeah.
It's insane, man.
which is nice. But then when you have a day off and you're sitting in your house and then you feel like you didn't accomplish anything. So you feel like a slack, like you're lazy.
You're like James.
I had a day off. I didn't do anything. Oh man, I could have done this. I could have done that, and just.
No, dude, you make me feel like my life's boring sometimes. It's like literally, he'll be like, "Yeah, I was in Oklahoma, I was in Atlanta, then I drove here, then I went there," and I'm like, "Dude, are you kidding?"
I drove to Lancaster, I drove to Palmdale.
I'm like, yeah, okay.
That's what happens
Oh
when
my
you
God.
buy a house across the states. I mean, we have the Oklahoma house, and we drive back and forth all the time. So
Yeah, it's insane, dude.
That's
22 hours of driving.
dude,
Yeah,
I just
I'm
do
not
like,
going.
yeah, 2 hours. 2 hours a day is enough for me. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm dead after that, man. I'm not trying to.
That's a lot of Red Bull. A lot of Red Bull.
So why did you guys do the? You said you had a property out in Oklahoma. What was the purpose behind that?
That was my wife mainly. I've always wanted to be out of California.
We all do.
Yeah, yep. You're not wrong on that.
If you took the politics outside of California, California is probably one of the best states to be in.
Agreed.
If you took the politics out,
Yeah.
everything, because you can go snowboarding, surfing, everything within
Agreed.
4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I've always never wanted to stay in California. I've always wanted to be outside of somewhere else because I'm never here long enough. I mean, the longest stretch that I was here for was COVID, and when we had the SAG strike and the WGA strike. That was the longest period of time that I was in the state of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been my entire life, ever since I turned 18. That's what I told my wife. It's like, hey, I can get a phone call right now, and I can be gone for 6 months in Europe. Like, this is what you're signing up for. And thankfully, she's still been by my side 10 years later. But I told her, it's like, I was leaning towards Texas, and wherever you want to go, I'll go. I don't care as long as my home's with you. So that's kind of how I look at it. So wherever she's at, that's where my house is at.
Yeah.
And my dogs.
So why Oklahoma specifically? Does it help for like work? Does it help?
No, she found this place sight unseen. She bought the property. It was 80 acres for $195,000 with a home on it, which is
You can't get half an acre.
you can't
in
get that
California
here
for that, man. Like,
and then we got the full loan with the construction. It came out to like $400,000, and now it's worth a little bit more.
like it's your closet in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, they just do a closet. And that mainly to retire our horses, and we wanted to start our own cattle. I've always wanted to do my own cattle, my own beef. So we kind of started that process and experimenting like what genetics we want and how the quality of the meat comes out. So that's kind of a whole learning process. We've always wanted to do that and have our own dairy, have our own kind of live off the grid, be able to live off grid. And that property is like maybe 70% there. We have our own water, we have our own gas, we have, actually that's the only two things that we have. We got to work on getting power, and then pretty much we can be self-sufficient there.
Yeah.
cool, dude. So when the real zombie apocalypse happens, I'm coming to your place, and you know, like, I'll bring the guns. You know, we're good,
You
right?
see me in my tree stand.
Yeah.
So is that like a central hub for you for the work you still do, like on the side from the ranch life that you have? Like, is it better to be there versus California for work?
That
or-
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It really doesn't because we're a phone call away.
Yeah.
I could be in Kentucky next week.
Yeah.
I was telling him earlier, I'm probably going to leave to Oklahoma tomorrow or the next day. But I'll only be there for like 4 or 5 days, and then I'm right back here.
You think? Because we've heard that before, and then you're gone for 6
No,
months.
because I literally start a show next week, so I have to be back here for that.
Gotcha. Okay. Trust you this time.
If I could be there, I would be there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we got a few things lined up that we need to be here for, and productions. We got to be on the scouts and all that stuff.
So do you still get excited? Like when you said you have a show next week starting, right? Like, do you still get like that excitement for a new project, or is it? Or is it more just I gotta go to work?
Yes and no. I mean, like the next couple projects, this next project, I'm excited because it's paycheck. There's no filming going on right now.
Yeah.
Dude, and that's, I mean, not to interrupt, but that was rough too, because I remember when the SAG strikes were going on, there was like no filming going on. And like we would talk, and you're like, dude, it's dead right now.
Yeah,
it's like
dead.
it's that's rough, because especially with like Dalton, like we talked about, he's always doing something. Always doing something. Even though you were doing something, you still like just the get up and go, right? Like anyone who just has that 9 to 5, even though you may have a busy life, if all of a sudden your 9 to 5 is just canceled or it's on pause.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, what do you do with your time? And that's where, you know, I kind of feel that, like, where you were like, man, you needed to find something to do, you know, just for work. And so I get that, yeah. But yeah, going back to your question of are you kind of numb to that sometimes? Is it more just like, all right, like it's kind of your 9 to 5, like you're just like, all right, let's.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it can be. Now there was like a project I did last February I was excited about, and I didn't get paid what I should have got paid, but I had a lot of fun being on set. And working those days. I think it's really the set atmosphere when you're there. If everyone's having fun, they're having a great time, then it makes it fun.
Yeah.
Especially if we are able to get like stunts and like perform some big stuff, then it gets really exciting.
Let me ask you a question. So on that same topic, so we're talking about like things that are really fun. Like what's like one project you can say that was probably the best one? You, regardless of pay, just where you were having fun, man. You're like, this is it, right here.
Walking Dead had a lot of those moments.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun on that show, but then I was angry at the show a few times.
Yeah.
Like you said, I doubled Norman for the first 2 seasons, and I understand now with age why it happened, but then they had to let me go because Norman looks a lot older, and I look like a 22-year-old punk kid. So it doesn't really match.
Yeah.
I was size-wise, I was his size.
Yeah.
But it didn't, like, our age, because I looked like a young dude, and he's obviously a lot older. So it
Yeah.
didn't work. And I understand that now, but I was angry about that. I didn't work on it for a whole season.
Yeah.
Which is sad and really dumb of me to not work on it, because that's a lot of money I lost out on.
Yeah.
If I only put my ego aside, I would have been financially a lot better.
And that's a good point, dude. I think those are lessons we kind of learn, and you couldn't have said it any better, dude. We learn that over time.
Yeah.
Like, you got to drop the ego, man.
Yeah.
Like, you have to sometimes, you got to, mentally check. And we don't see that, especially as being men, dude. You don't see that sometimes because you're like, nah, fuck that. Like, I have, this is what I'm owed, or I believe this. And we're so headstrong on our beliefs, on our principles. We're willing to die on that hill.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, is it really, like, we've always talked about that too. Like, pick your battles, man. Choose your battles.
Yeah.
Choose what hills you really want to die on,
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, we just got to concede and say, all right, cool, it's not that important. Like, I'll, keep me on the show. I'll find another role, whatever, like, we'll do something different. But, I completely relate to you on that. Had my moments.
When I wish I had this mindset when I was younger too, because I thought low budgets were like, it's a low budget. It's one of those things you scoff at. You don't want to be a part of.
Yeah.
As I got older, I realized that if I had done those shows, I could have been running a lot more shows at my age. Because ever since I started saying yes to a lot of those shows, I'm getting more and more phone calls from different people that were on those shows saying, hey, we would like you to submit for this show, or we want to do this show with you, and yada, yada, yada. And if I had done that 5-6 years ago, I'd probably be in a whole different spot in my life.
I think you bring a good point, dude, because that's kind of the Hollywood industry is like, they're not like the Steven Spielbergs. Yeah, everyone knows those names, but they're not always doing, the Saving Private Ryans. Like, there's other movies that are coming out sometimes that they know somebody who's working on that low budget film. There's all these connections. It's such a tight knit industry. Doing some of those, like you said, some of the small projects. Someone's going to make a phone call to someone else, say, "Hey, you got to get this guy on."
I know
we
a
know
guy.
you're.
Yeah.
I know a guy. You got this project coming up. So
and that's what essentially happened. Is I get I don't get excited until I'm on set and I'm eating a burrito when I signed the contract. I don't get excited.
Yeah.
Everything's talk. Everything's like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's all whatever. And then when you're on set, you sign your contract. That's when I get excited that we're going to work. We're going to do some awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen too, where I was promised like 8 months in Mexico, and that got ripped off, ripped away from me. Jack Ryan. I was on Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
In Bogota. I was supposed to go to Europe for a few months, and that got ripped away. And so it's like, I learned to not get excited until I'm there.
Like, don't get too high, too low type thing.
And I learned not to say anything, because once you say something, then it kind of goes away. So I don't get excited until I'm there. I sign a contract. I'm having my breakfast burrito. We're figuring out what's going to happen for the day. It's kind of what it is now.
He has a breakfast burrito right before he falls off a building.
Yeah.
Like, this is his routine, man.
Hey, I've had some full stomachs and done ratchets going flying, and I wish I didn't, because I'm like landing on the ground, just I might need a puke right now. Lunch is coming up. Yeah, you know what? Going back to when you asked me if I get excited. Yeah, I do get excited when I'm on set. I don't get excited leading up to it.
Yeah.
Because stuff always changes. You have to adapt to those changes.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a yes and no to your
So
question.
do you get more excited based off like projects as well too? Like say you're gonna go do a low budget movie or go work on The Walking Dead, right? And then you're like, oh, it's The Walking Dead. I'm actually a fan of the show type thing. So does that excitement come in, or is it just work?
It's just work.
Okay.
I don't get excited about unless it's like my favorite show at the time.
Yeah.
But I haven't really been watching TV at all. It's all been YouTube and
Yeah.
whatever else, video games.
That's like a common thing for you guys. Like every actor doesn't even watch their own stuff. Like they're always just like, nah,
Yeah.
you know, like.
I don't think I've watched past season 7 of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Right
when you start.
That was pretty much. I had to think about it. I know I watched season 5. I watched season 6, and then after that, I was like, yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Been on it enough. It's the same story. The main villain comes in. Good guys kill bad guy.
Yeah.
And then it's the same rotation. It's like any TV show you watch, it's the same storyline each season, and then it just becomes
Same thing with
repetitive.
Jurassic Park. Ask Russ.
Oh my, yeah. He actually ruined the damn movie for me. Like on it's like Jurassic World or one of the Chris Pratt, the Pratt movies. And I asked him, I was like, hey, do you want to go watch it? And he's like, for what? I already know what's going to happen. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, it's the same thing in every movie. The at the end, the T-Rex is going to come out, and then it's going to, the movie's going to end.
Exactly.
And I'm like, when that scene happened, I was just, I actually got pissed off. I was legitimately, I laughed, and then it was followed by instant anger, and I was like, fucking Tyler. Like, he just ruined the fucking movie.
It's true.
Every single movie. The same with The Walking Dead, where I'm not a big zombie fan. Everyone knows that knows me. But they go find a compound, they secure themselves, then they invite some new people in. They're not secure anymore. Then zombies come and they kill them.
Yeah.
And then they move on. Secure compound.
Yep.
Not secure. Kill zombies. It was literally the same story. So that makes a lot of sense, like what you were talking about too.
It was a great show to work on.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun being on it, but it becomes redundant when you're watching the same storyline happen. They introduce a new character.
Yeah.
It's the same with every TV show. It's not
No,
just
100%.
Walking Dead. It's every other show that you've ever watched.
Yeah. Jen and I have been watching Power again. I was a big fan of Power back in the day. I know you probably haven't seen it, but it becomes redundant too. Like those first couple seasons, you're like, this is what really captured my interest. But then again, you're just telling new characters, new drugs, new whatever, right? In Power's case, but it just becomes redundant.
Yeah.
And then in 3 years, they make the same exact show, but it's called something different, and we get all excited about it.
Yeah. I don't really watch anything I've been in.
Like I said, man.
Unless I'm making a demo reel, then I gotta watch what I was in, because then I gotta figure out where I am in this shot and all that stuff.
So what do you think is the most fun that you have had on a job? Like, it could be low budget, could be Walking Dead, obviously, could be whatever. Like, what was the most fun you've had personally?
I think the most fun I had was the first film, because that was the first film I was ever on. It's called Dark House or Dark Horse. Nobody's ever seen it.
We're all gonna go watch it after this, though. Don't worry.
Yeah. They're gonna
It's
spike
okay.
in views.
It wasn't great. But it was the most fun I had, because I had to do a dead man. A dead man is essentially when you run in a straight line and there's a line on your back. And once you hit the end of that line, you just flat back. So it's a lot. I'll show you guys later. That was a lot of fun. And leading up to, like, I have a bad guy chasing me, and then there's an axe in the tree, and it's so funny. Reliving this now. He's got the tree, and he's got to pull the axe out of the tree, and the handle is between his legs. So if you guys know where I'm going with this, he pulls it. It's like stuck in there, and he's trying to pull it out, and pulls it right in his boys. And it was the most. It was so funny, because you see him just keel over on the ground. He goes, "I pulled the axe right into my boys." It was funny, but that was probably the most exciting. And then it just, like, since growing up in it, it's like I don't really. It's all kind of. It's just another day at work.
So is it more exciting to see your dad do it versus you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, just for the work aspect of
It's
it.
work aspect. But I guess if you ask my dad, I'm pretty sure he loves watching me perform too.
Oh,
so
100%.
it's like vice versa. If I get to see him perform, I have so much fun watching it happen.
And from my understanding, your dad has, like, we were talking about this, like, he's got, like, some crazy, like, right? Like, he's got some crazy stories. He's got some cool stuff, like, working on some insane projects. Like, yeah, dude, we got to get him on.
Yeah.
We'll have to get both of you guys on.
Yeah,
and, like,
same time. That would be
We'll, like, compare stories and talk about, like, what's
Dalton
happened.
Part 2.
Yeah.
It would be a lot of fun hearing his side, because he's done some massive features. He's got some stories with those.
Yeah.
Cool.
Dude, so, okay, I have a question. So does it ever cross your mind if you're going to one day, like, I don't want to say throw in the towel, but if you're going to just be like, all right, enough of the Hollywood life, dude, like, I'm ready to just settle down. Because you have the place, that your other house where you're out of California, right? And let's be real, like there's not a whole lot of filming that happens in a lot of those other states.
Mm-hmm.
So does it ever cross your mind like maybe you'll retire from that and then just go into like you talked about, you know, doing like the ranch life and just having your own that side of your company?
Oh yeah, I thought
Yeah.
like 100% go into that. But I would imagine I'll be in this business for most of my life. I don't think I'll collect my retirement check
Yeah.
when I get to that age.
Because like once you're a rancher, what do you do for fun? Like you get kicked by a cow? Like what are you gonna do to like?
I had a bull run me over.
Get that thing. Yeah, but just stand in front of a bull and just let him take you out.
Like you need that adrenaline stuff. Yeah.
Call my wife.
I can see him doing that too. He's all patted up. He's like, all right, I haven't done a film in 5 years. Let's go.
I need that adrenaline rush.
Right?
No, I haven't really thought about it all that much, but yeah, I'd probably fall back into that lifestyle. I kind of want to set myself up that I have money coming in passively, and you know, always find something that excites me. So the cattle stuff, that excites me, figuring out brands, the genetics and what kind of cows we want.
Which we're gonna taste some of this meat
we're-
here
yeah,
after we're done filming this. Sucks for you guys, but not for us, because we're gonna enjoy that.
We'll let you know if he can retire this way.
We'll
Find out right now.
Yeah, sitting on a smoke.
If not, he'll be on part 3.
Yeah.
No, we learned a lot with cattle so far, and we're learning more every day that we're out there.
Yeah.
No, I can't really see myself retiring. You kind of go through the roles. You go from stunt performer to stunt coordinator, and if that's the level you want to hit, just be a stunt coordinator for the rest of your life. You can. My goal is to get all the way to director. I would like to do a couple projects.
That actually, so that kind of brings me into like another side of that question that I kind of asked earlier. Like, I know because I got to see a little bit of it. I mean, just like a very little bit. But when you go from stuntman to stunt coordinator, like you have a lot more there, right? That you're doing because now you're in charge of essentially what. Well, actually, you tell me, what are you in charge of as a stunt coordinator?
Whatever the action sequence is and the safety of the actors, basically.
Okay.
You got stunt performers. You're just in charge of that whole situation.
Yeah.
Making sure that everyone's still safe while performing the stunts. Granted, people are going to get hurt. It's why we signed a contract.
Yeah.
If you're afraid of getting hurt, then you should not be a stunt professional.
Yeah.
You know, go somewhere else where.
Are you afraid for them? Like, so now when you're coordinating it, like say I'm the new guy, right?
Yes.
Like, are you more?
Yes.
Definitely not doing it. But like, are you more like nervous or scared for them because you?
No, because
of your
what usually happens is if you were a new performer, say it's you.
Yeah. It's me.
You're going to be nowhere near the action. All I want to make sure is like if there's a near miss or something that's happening, I want to make sure that you have a head on your shoulders and you do what I told you to do.
Yeah.
Now, whereas the performers performing the action all already trust that they know what they're doing.
Okay.
You know, we've had our discussions. What's going to happen? Like, if there's a vehicle rollover, okay, what's going to happen here? What's the safeties? We got to have safeties.
But how do you prepare for that? Like, how can you prepare for how a vehicle can flip? Like, if it's supposed to.
Oh, there's a
flip
whole science with those guys. They have it down to a science.
Like the exact rotations.
Yeah, they got it down. And how far.
Yeah,
It's
sometimes
crazy.
they're like on. I've seen like the tracks that they have, or like the type of like I don't know what it's called. It's like it'll just shoot the car up.
Oh,
so
cannon.
like
They
all
have
that,
cannons,
the cannon, all that kind of stuff.
It's down to a science with those guys.
Okay.
And then you can obviously scale the action up or you can scale it back down. So if they're going 15 miles an hour, you only get like 1 or 2 rolls out of it, depending on the pipe ramp. So there's a science and
that's.
Dude,
So who's the first guy to figure this out? You know,
I
like,
don't know.
hey,
I think just
I'm gonna go roll my car. Let's see, what we can do with this.
So there's actually what's kind of
Rednecks.
cool is right, Dukes of Hazzard, like that was the first. Yeah, no, actually it's kind of interesting because there was a movie, you probably know it was called Driver. Back in this came out like back in 2011, somewhere around there, and it was about a stuntman. Like that was like the initial story, and then it went into something way different. But he was essentially the Dalton. He was like the stuntman. He was driving and like a whole. And every time I think of like what you do, I always kind of go back to that because that was the first thing I ever saw where they kind of talk about a stuntman. Now you have other movies too, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? Where you kind of also think, hey, it's Dalton, Brad Pitt, Dalton.
Yeah.
You look a little different than Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Does
it?
I can see it.
Yeah, you can see it.
you squint your eyes, right?
Squint, you slap myself in the face. Yeah,
Take
there
a
we
couple
go.
shots. We're good.
Take a couple
We got
shots.
you.
He's got hair, I don't.
Semantics.
Yeah, right? But no, if you look at that, like you can kind of start to see like what kind of happens in that stunt world, and
Yeah.
it's just interesting. But you're right, like. Who was the first guy that was like, yeah, I'm going to flip and roll this car. Let's get it on film. Let's create a whole industry for guys that are going to do this kind of stuff. Like,
that's
insane,
the how that like always blows my mind. Like how do we know that we can jump off of a building on fire and land on the ground and it just makes a good shot and you're totally fine or fine-ish, right?
Yeah.
dude, in the stills that he has, like I've seen the still pictures of him on fire as a zombie, like walking through more flames, like it's just pretty much hell is what he's like walking through, right?
Well, there's a mindset to it too. If you panic in your mind, that's where accidents happen.
Yeah.
You always got to be calm when you're doing certain stunts and certain
Calm while
actions.
jumping off of a building. And
Yeah,
landing on
you
your head
can't.
on
You
fire.
can't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can't panic. That's where accidents happens. When you lose it in your head, you can't perform. And it's happened before, and it will happen through the rest of my career.
Yeah.
I've had one where I was doing a fire burn, and I got it got too hot in my face and burned my eyelids, and I couldn't perform. I couldn't get my mindset back to doing it. And for safety, I pulled myself out of it. Thankfully, there's 6, 7 other performers there that were already doing the fire burn. So noticing one less fire burn, no one's gonna ever tell.
Yeah.
But I lost my mindset. I completely lost it. And I could never regenerate. But I can never get my mind back. But the night before, I did it 4 or 5 times. And then that day, it was a weird accident that happened, and it burned me, and I couldn't recover.
Yeah.
So it will always happen. And when you recognize that it's not safe anymore, that's when you got to step away
Yeah.
and pull yourself out of that situation.
I'm sure that's tough too. Like being on set and being, hey, I can't do this right now.
Yeah, and thankfully, you'll run into some coordinators that are jerks about it, but if they recognize what's happening, they're saving their reputation by, okay, this performer is stepping away because he can't do it, even though I just watched him do it 4 or 5 times. He's not right mentally to perform this.
Yeah.
That just saves your reputation. That steps away.
And does it comes back though? I'm assuming like you get it back, the confidence, like eventually maybe the next job, like.
Oh, I've been hired back.
No, I'm talking about like you said, you take yourself out mentally, right? Like you
Yeah.
can't do it because you know it's not safe. How do you get that confidence back?
Oh, like the next day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's just in that moment.
It's just that moment I couldn't bring it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you only have a select time because then they're moving on to the next scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you only have that much time, and they're going to do it 3 or 4 times because each time we do a burn is each time we're getting an adjustment for it.
Okay.
So we're getting paid per burn on top of our contract.
I could definitely say like, yeah, that's not a job where you could fake it till you make it kind of thing. You really have to either know what you're doing, because it's like, yeah, definitely someone's safety is like on the line at all times, and like in that career, even I would, I'm speaking out of context, but just from what I understand, that kind of career, like safety is everything. Because if someone really gets hurt or killed, it's like it's done, dude. No one wants to be, I'm not gonna say his name, but he's a very popular twin brother who did something that he shouldn't have been doing, and no one wants to be that guy. No one wants to be that guy. Don't be that guy.
I know who it is. Like,
yeah, you probably know who it is. I'm not gonna I won't get.
Starts with a B.
I'm so scared of getting canceled.
Fuck that. It's Baldwin.
Huh?
The Baldwins?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Cancel me. Don't cancel me.
Fuck those guys. But no one wants to be that guy. Like, in all honesty, you don't want to be that guy. Like, so safety definitely, and that's a big thing. But yeah, like, dude, I remember like sometimes like, I think I'm a tough guy sometimes, but dude, like, you put me on a ladder, that's a whole other story. I'm like, this is like sturdy, like heights, anything to do with heights. That's where like
you saw me climb a tree.
Dude, I'm telling you, like on that thing, that's all that went through my head. The entire time we're driving there, I'm like, dude, I hope they don't have to I don't have to go somewhere high or somewhere I'm like doing something like really high off the ground. Like naturally, I'm like, dude, I'll do it. But I was like scared as shit, like in the back of my head, like I really hope I don't have to do anything like this. Like fuck, like my pride was not gonna let me say no. But I'm like, if I have to, like
Mine would have.
But I was like,
we've been in hotels where I can't walk over to the window because I just started. Oh, dude, you get that feeling like the building's still. It's not. But yeah.
Thankfully, Dalton was the one doing all the high shit and all the crazy stuff, but I'm just like, hey, you got this, brother. It looks good, man.
Your emotional support dog.
Put my hanging on a tree branch and put some rigging up.
Dude, there was Yeah, there was some sketch stuff, and I have some pictures. We'll share them. We'll kind of play those so you guys can see that. But yeah, there was some sketchy stuff where I'm like, damn, this is why he does what he does, man. This is why I do what I do.
Yep.
You know.
Well, trust me, I had that little sinking moment while I was up there. I mean, it's a tree; it could break.
Yeah,
I could fall 15, 20 feet.
Well, into that, we'll segue. Like, what do you think is the scariest thing you've done, stunt wise? Not in real life, because I know you do some crazy shit in real life too.
That's good.
Stumped him.
You're really challenging him on this one.
Or name a couple, if that helps.
Not really scared, but more like, oh shit, this is happening. Kind of like, all right, this is my gag that I was to do. The high fall on fire.
Yeah.
That was one of them. Because there's two actions. I'm on fire and there's a fall. It's
Yeah.
20 feet.
Those are two separate things, obviously.
That I had to combine.
Yeah.
That was all right, we're really doing this. There's that moment. There's the bike lay down. That was one. Oh, I'm really laying this thing down.
It's like a full-on bike, and they just wreck it.
Yeah. The
Dude.
picture guy custom built it and everything. I destroyed it.
And then I don't know if
brake levers, clutch levers, everything's just getting
these are things that nobody wants to do. Just like I said, just let alone no one wants to fall off a building.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be on fire. Yet you're doing both at the same time. Like, cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Dalton does for some weird reason.
Yeah. Maybe it's like the reality of him actually doing it, where he's like, "Oh shit, yeah, this is really happening." Yeah.
And then when you're watching playback, you're like, "Oh shit, I really did that. Oh man, pulled that one out."
Yeah.
It's some crazy stuff.
But which one hurt the most? I'm assuming falling on
CSI,
fire.
CSI New York. It was my
Oh, you're on it.
third job. I can't remember. It's one of the first 5-10 jobs that I was on. Doubling an actor, riding a bicycle, and I had to ride in front of a car, and the car hits me. I go over the hood and land on the ground. The most painful part is hitting the ground, not the car, nothing else, because I had a hip pad right there, and that was the first thing to hit the asphalt.
So
Like, hip. And it slid all the way down, like my hip pad slid down as I was riding the bike and landed. I couldn't walk for 3 weeks. That hurt so bad.
And you just got up and you're like, God, I can't fucking wait to go back to work.
Yeah.
Can't wait to just jump off a building on fire. Like, where does that drive come from? Like, is it?
I don't know.
fun doing it?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know how that happened. I think it's just because it's the lifestyle I grew up in.
Yeah.
I think it's because I watched my dad perform the stunts. I think it's watching all of my dad's friends doing this crazy stuff when they were over at our houses. I think it could be a number of different things.
Yeah.
We're gonna really break down the psyche of where you
I remember as a kid, I was dumb, and I would like to get in fights because I liked being hit. It was a weird thing. But now today, if I stub my toe walking down, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm too old for that shit, man. I'm fucking over it.
There's a potential I got to do a stair fall on this next one that I'm on. Because they're like, hey, if we can't find anybody, you think you can do it? I was like, yeah, but...
He's like, you know what? I know a guy. He's going to call me. Hold on a second.
Well, I'm going to call a few people before it's me. Because you're already using me for some other stuff.
I've fallen down the stairs of my house before, and that wasn't very fun. But
yeah, these are wood stairs.
okay, yeah, I'm good.
See, that's the kind of stuff I would want to be made out of foam. Sure, I'll fall down the stairs. Let them be foam stairs or something,
But they only when you start talking about that kind of stuff, you go, okay, well, it's going to cost this much per take.
Yeah.
For that performer.
So you do it multiple times?
Up to. So on this one, I said it's 4 times.
Yeah.
But it's well, I guess for me it's nothing, but it's 8 feet. So essentially, it's just it's an 8-step fall.
Okay, so that's a question I have for you. So in a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, you'll see the director would be like, we got to redo it again. Even what we were doing, they were like, no, we're going to redo that again. Let's do it again. At what point, because say your contract, you were like, yeah, we're only going to do this 4 or 5 times, right? If they got to keep, say you didn't perform the way they wanted you to, right? At what point do you just go again, but you're like, okay, we're adding that on there? How does that, yeah?
You just keep adding it to the back end.
Dude.
So if that performer does it 30 times, he's made that check 30 times.
36 times later.
Do they take multiple shots from each fall?
Oh, yeah.
I would assume, and just make it all look like one real one.
Yeah. They'll find the shot that they like the most out of those takes,
Yeah.
But because this company doesn't have the money for it, they're only going to do it like 3-4 times. And I said, it's fine with me.
Cool.
But here's how much it's going to cost to do it that many times, up to this much.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's fine. We think we can do it in 1 or 2. I was like, okay.
You're
But I
just,
haven't budgeted in for
padded
4
up underneath,
Yeah.
or okay? Because obviously, like if you're falling
Well, it
downstairs,
depends on the wardrobe.
That's true. Because I would imagine, like, if we're shooting like something supposed to be real, right? Like I'm dressed now. How do you hide all the pads under that?
It's
like
all
if you're just in your home.
Technology is all
Ah.
how they make those pads. Like, yeah, you can wear knee pads in tight jeans and never see them. It's the science and technology and our pads and everything that we wore, and based on performers too, they all have their style of what they like, what pads they use.
Yeah.
Like mine are $15 Dick's Sporting Goods knee pads that you can buy, and I love those pads, and they've lasted me my entire career. I won't buy another set. I've tried more expensive, like $80 knee pads, and I hate those things compared to these, $5.
He's
or
actually wearing them
$15.
right now. No kidding.
So it's really a preference on some of those guys. But yeah. They'll be padded up for that. But at the same time, he could be wearing Daisy Dukes in a croc top, and he can't hide a single pad, and he's going to have to eat it. He'll just have to eat
You
it.
just have to take it.
Yeah, we just got to take
this
it.
dude.
Hey, I want to see Dalton and Daisy Dukes falling, man. Don't know that.
Oh,
It's
that's
actually a nice
happening.
film. Check it out, guys.
I won't tell you the show. But
Yeah.
I've been in them.
Don't worry. We'll do the research and we'll put that link up for you guys to see it.
It's gonna be this, like the still on the video.
Yeah. Just. Was it 22 Jump Street?
No.
No, it wasn't that one. No.
Oh, I was in that one too. Yeah, I was in that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Good movie.
Oh, and I was in Old Boy too.
yeah.
I was doing 22 jump. No, I was in Homefront and Old Boy at the same time, and we were shooting nights on Homefront and days on Old Boy. So I was going from set to set. I didn't sleep for like 3 weeks.
So the one that actually I was kind of questioning on, because I didn't even know that you did this, was Impractical Jokers, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, call me dumb. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But like, call me dumb. I was like, what stunts? Like, I thought it was all real. Well, I know it's not real. It's dumb as that sounds. Like, we know it's like not all real. But I'm like, shit. Like, it was just kind of like mind blowing that you were doing. I'm like, oh crap.
Like based off the show. Impractical?
Yeah, they made a movie out of it.
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
They did a movie. Yeah.
That's Jen's
See,
show.
nobody's watched it.
No, actually, to the
I'm gonna
contrary,
watch tonight.
people watch it, they just didn't like know.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's kind of the thing. Like, we were talking about it like on the way here, and I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah.
That's crazy, man. You've been in so much stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Like
he's
we've
done
known
shit
you for a few years now. We've always talked about this kind of stuff, and I found out like 8-9 new movies that you've been in, or shows or whatever. It's kind of
It's kind of like your point too. Like, it's for you, it's work, dude.
Yeah.
And like anyone who knows Dalton, he's like a humble guy. He doesn't walk around. I kind of see it. I think a lot of people in Hollywood are this way. They're kind of more humble about their work. They don't walk around boasting about what they do. That's more amateur like behavior. But
I would say, the younger you are, you're going to see a lot more posts and social media and look, I'm big shot.
Yeah.
And I was certainly like that. I felt like that when I was younger, and I wish I never had that attitude.
Yeah.
But now I just don't care. I really don't care about.
You just let your performance speak for it.
Yeah, I just
Right.
I let my performances speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I won't. Yeah, it's just you're humble, dude. You're a really humble guy. You're a good guy, which is like why we're friends. But yeah, you really
I don't
are.
really like you very much, but
I don't like you either. I don't like Russ. He gets my abuse a lot.
Yeah. You'll call me later though.
he's a bad guy. I'm telling you, he's a bad guy.
So the other day I saw him and I was like, all right, I'm out of here, man. He's like, all right, I'll see you for the day. And I was like, you know what? No, you won't. I don't even want to see you. Matter of fact, don't you talk to me. And then he looks at me. He's like, can you call me later though? I was like, yeah, I'll call you later.
He wouldn't even let me on the property today. I called to come in, and he's like, no, you can't come in. I was like, but James is here. He's like, well, James can.
James can
You
come
can
in.
fucking-
I actually heard him as he's driving away. I heard him say that. James can come in, but you can't.
Yeah.
It's James, our guy in the chair, is actually
Guy
not
in the
here
chair.
presently. One episode, you're not going to hear any noise in the background because he's not here.
Yeah, no squeaky chairs, no
So
sodas opening.
Dude, everybody else is like quiet as a mouse. There could be 50 people behind the camera, and no one would know. But if James is the only guy here, you'll know because you hear, you're like opening and
then he goes,
chairs
"My bad."
squeaking. Hey guys, blah, blah, blah. You're like, yeah, James.
Sorry I made
the
noise
whole
and
world-
interrupted your podcast. I won't ever do it again. You're like, yeah,
Yeah,
still doing it.
we're
Still doing it.
We need to have just like a camera just on James, so then when you hear the noise, you can just see what he's doing the whole time.
That was like fucking James. It should be a thing. We'll do it. Just add it.
It's like the hidden, like the James camera.
Yeah.
You should just have it in the corner of the podcast.
Oh my god, that'd be funny, dude. Actually, I have a question for that. So, have you had any stunts where you're stunt doubling for an actor, but like the camera was like directly in your face, whether it be driving, whether it be something else, maybe not in your face, but like you knew the camera was on you, so you're more worried about the acting rather than the stunt?
No, because if I have to start acting, we already saw too much. If I'm doubling an actor,
Yeah.
that's his job.
Okay.
Is to act. If you're seeing too much of me, that means we haven't done our job right.
Okay.
Okay.
So I just do the action, and then he pops up like nothing happened and does all
Yeah.
the acting. He says the lines. Granted, there are times where I played my own character. Like in the last season, you saw me a whole bunch. I had a full beard, and then I cut my beard off, and I was a completely different character
Yeah.
in the same episode. It was just
Yeah.
In the same exact one?
yeah, same episode.
Oh, nice.
You'll never tell the difference because I had a big beard,
Yeah.
and you shave it, and I look like a baby face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
So-
you seen? You don't have to be specific, but have you seen instances where actors wanted to do their own stunts and they were so hardcore about that and it almost made them like
Tom Cruise
like
style?
yeah, where it was almost like they just kind of too much ego or anything like that. Have you seen or have you heard of things like that?
I've heard of things like that. One of the actors I was doubling wanted to start doing all his own stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I could do that. I could do this. I can do that. Well, one of the stuff we were doing, I was inside of a truck. I had to punch another actor, and then we had to come. It's a box truck, so obviously it's a 15-foot box truck. The cabs are big. I had to punch him a couple of times, and then we had to fall out. Well, they had taken that door liner out. When you close the door, there's that liner that right there. They took the rubber piece out. Well, when we fell out, the other stunt guy tripped, and my hand went right onto that door, that piece of metal that sticks out right there, and it ripped all my hand off. And we were rolling on the ground, and I was going to fight, and I'm like sitting there waiting for cut, and no one's yelling cut, and I'm just holding. All of a sudden, I see blood just coming off my hand, and that's when they yelled cut and went straight to the medic, and the producer and the actor came over, and the producer looks at the actor and goes, "This is why you're an actor." So
You ain't about that life.
Yeah. The actor's like, "Okay, I get it now." And I'm like sitting there getting bandaged up, they put alcohol, like cleaning it all up, and I'm like, "Ee." That was one of the instances I remember. He never did another stunt.
He's like, yeah, I'm good.
He's like, "I'm good.
I see
That's
those-
why you guys are here."
I see
Stay
those
in
Tom
your
Cruise
lane,
ones,
man.
man. Those are insane.
Yeah, but Tom Cruise pays for it. It comes out of his pockets. If in any of his
Yeah.
films, he pays for that stuff.
Yeah.
So if production shut down, it sucks, but he paid for it.
I kind of think like, and then like hopefully I'm not speaking out of context, but I think like if you have enough ego and enough money, like, you know what I'm saying? Like no one's gonna really tell you no, like because like you said, like like they're just all right, cool. And he like let's be real, when he was like 20, 18, he wasn't doing that. They're like Pipsqueak, shut up! Like we got a guy for that,
Yeah.
And it's like only because he's done what he's done now and he's established that name.
Well, and he's also actively training. Like
Yeah.
he's
That's what I'm saying. 'Cause,
he's
like,
a better stunt performer than a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Because he's actively training
Yep.
all the time.
And that
which is
probably
crazy.
came with like, just like I said, time and investing in that kind of career.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure like you get some of those actors that are just brand new to the thing and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, like that guy, yeah, I'll do it. They're like, no, dude, no.
So
sit
you're
down.
not Tom Cruise yet. You're not
Yeah.
any of this. I had an actor on a set a couple weeks ago. He was like, "Hey, well, I would like to perform my stunts." I was like, "Okay, well, let me put it to you this way: if you're 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the call sheet, you're not doing the stunts. Period. Unless you, for some reason, have weaseled your way through it. But if you get hurt and we shut down for 6 weeks, that means you took 6 weeks of work out of the entire crew.
Yeah.
And there could be anywhere between 30 to 200 people, and you just took 6 weeks of work away because you got hurt, because you wanted to do the gag.
Yeah.
Where it comes with our field. If I put a performer there that's doubling you, he gets hurt, guess what? He goes to the hospital, I got a new performer coming in the next day. It's just what our contract is.
Yeah.
That's what we sign up for. It's not if or when we're going to go to the hospital. It's not if or when we're going to get hurt. It's when. We're literally going to, whenever we show up to set, we can get hurt that day. It can be
Yeah.
the easiest gag ever, tripping. I could break a leg just tripping. It's happened. It will always happen.
Yeah.
Now,
You're
if an
not,
actor does it, we're shut down because
Yeah.
you're the face of the
Face
show.
of it, yeah.
yeah, because you guys like you're not like you said, you're not seeing you too much, right? Because that's the actor's job. But your kind of job is to not be seen, just to do the stunt through. And like that's kind of where I was thinking. You mentioned John Wick, and I was like, yeah, dude, Keanu does a lot of his own stuff, right?
I call that the 3-hour stunt demo reel for Keanu Reeves. Because it's just him.
But
It's his own stunt
but
demo.
he does all the training too, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you
He
see
actively
those
trains
videos,
with those guys, and
Yeah.
those guys are badass
Yeah.
dudes. All of those 8711 guys, all the guys that he trains with all the time are some of the most talented fighters I've ever seen. But they train their asses
Yeah.
off.
I've seen the just like
That's-
YouTube videos of it. Dude.
Yeah, that's one thing, dude. Like Keanu, man, that guy, just mad respect for that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like people would say, like,
I bet him.
Yeah, how yeah. Like I've heard people like, oh, he's not that great of an actor. He's like the same character. I'm like, dude, yeah. The bottom line is what he's done. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you talk about like Tom Cruise. I think Keanu's right there, dude. 100% right there. Like he's done some of the best movies. You know, like The Matrix, all that kind of stuff. And then just like, dude, you watch John Wick. I don't care if you're a fan of the movie, you don't like the story, whatever. Just the level of work that goes into what he's doing, man. Like that's mad respect. You know, that's
Just the training he
100%.
did.
But also, he does have his doubles too.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, he's not
Yep.
doing all the
Yeah.
action.
Right,
but yeah.
right.
And same with Tom. Tom's not doing all the action sequences. He's doing the ones that he wrote in the script.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wants to perform, but Tom Cruise has his doubles.
Yeah.
And those doubles are paid very well.
Yeah.
Would you go be a double, like, just, you know, like, just walk around on your knees so you can be, like, 4'2", like Tom Cruise, dude, and then, like, just get some long hair, and, dude, you should do it, man. Get paid a shit ton.
4'2", huh?
4'2". Dude, he's a really small guy, dude. He's a really small guy. I'm gonna get so much hate on
James,
this.
Google it. Oh,
Oh,
James,
yeah,
right
James ain't here. You know what? James is fired.
Do you little segue out of Tom Cruise's shortness, but do you train new guys? Like, do you enjoy that? Like, do you enjoy getting people into the line of work that you do? How is that a thing? I don't know. Like, just curious.
It's the way that it depends on how they carry themselves to me.
Yeah.
I will always shake a hand and take their headshot whenever someone comes on set, hustles me, because I did the same thing. But if they're calling and texting and emailing me every week, every day,
Mm-hmm.
then it turns me off. I never want to help that person. You
Yeah.
know, like we mentioned earlier, if I'm going to hire someone, the brand spanking new, and I will know if they're brand new, I will call a couple other people if they have some references.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put them in the background, the deep background, because all I want to make sure is that they know what they're doing. If they can listen to what the action that I gave them, hey, I need you to just run across the street, don't get hit by a car. Or the simplest things possible. If I have a glass exploding or there's an explosion, I just need you to be where I told you to be when that action happens. And
Yeah.
if they can do that, then you gradually lift them to bigger stuff. But you always keep them away from the action to see if they can listen.
Do you enjoy it though? Like that process?
Yeah.
Did you ever see like a young you, for example, like I remember I did that,
Not-
I made that mistake or whatever, you know?
Not yet, because I'm getting into the coordinating side of it.
Okay, yeah.
I've helped other performers, especially on like Walking Dead. My dad was in charge, but then he would come up to me and be like, "Hey, watch this guy or that guy. He's new." I'd be like, "Yeah, I can already tell." You can tell when there's a new person on set and when there's a veteran on set.
Yeah.
You can easily tell the difference between the two, and you know who's who. And if the coordinator, any coordinator will come up to you and be like, "Hey, just keep an eye out on him and make sure he does what I ask him to do." Yes, sir. We got it. You
Yeah.
keep an eye. You kind of coach him through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bet you I would get excited until I see that.
Yeah, it's almost like because you don't have any kids of your own, right? So you don't get to have that same thing that you had with your dad. So I was curious, like, do you see that in new people when you're kind of training them? You know,
Eventually, yeah. I would say yes. I will be excited when that happens. But I don't know. Maybe I won't, because I've already kind of done it as a performer, just guiding that person.
or maybe that's how we make our millions. We just create that company, and you're the trainer, and I get all the money because I came up with it.
And I get all the money.
I'm your manager. I'm gonna do absolutely nothing.
Hey, what's up, I used to joke. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get 50%. You're like, you're pimping me out. I'm like, yeah, it's all no, it doesn't work.
That's a story for another podcast.
Yeah. Well, just like the profession in general, I can
Yeah.
see Dalton's like, no. He's like, no. So actually, I do have one question, dude. And I notice this a lot, and I've never got an answer from this. Sometimes when you're watching a movie, and there's like they're in a car. There's no headrest. There's no headrest. Like, have you ever noticed that?
I don't pay attention.
Oh, fuck, man. Damn it! I thought I was gonna get.
Still don't
I'm
have
gonna
an
get my
answer.
answer right now. Nope. Fucking no answer.
I would imagine it's probably for camera.
That's the only thing.
I would imagine it's just camera. If there's people in the backseat, it's probably
Yeah.
likely for-
I'm like, dude, why is that? Like, there's
Simple
it's
things.
so weird because
Now-
it looks so off-putting to me.
Now I'm gonna watch TV and be like, is there a head?
Is there a headrest in the
You know
car?
what-
Like I'm telling you.
You know what bugs me in movies now that we're on the topic? Is
Yeah.
fucking people smoking. Because you can tell they don't know how to fucking smoke, and they're like nobody smokes like that. Nobody ever smokes like that.
does.
So like I have my little quirks too. It's like when I see someone, I'm like, dude, at least
Unless you're Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders, where he said he was smoking so many fake cigarettes. He's like, I'm probably gonna get cancer from the fake cigarettes.
yeah. He said he won't take any more smoking roles.
Yeah, he's like, I'm done with it, man.
But he looked like a smoker though.
yeah,
So-
yeah. No, he did a good job with
No,
that.
yeah.
He did a really good
Yeah, he's
job
gonna be
with
on the
that.
podcast soon.
Yeah, is he?
Plugging it out.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right, dude. So, what would you say is like kind of leading toward wrapping things up? What's the next chapter for you, man? Sorry, I got something.
Oh, I'm starting that chapter. It'll be coordinating. I've done a few coordinating stuff covering for my dad, but actively getting my own shows, budgeting, and talking to producers and directors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is kind of the avenue I'm heading at. After that, I'd like to start doing some second unit directing stuff and doing some of my own projects.
Yeah.
My wife and I have written a couple of concepts of like scripts that we want to do, and eventually we try and sell them and do it, but we're just kind of taking the steps to get there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude. I know a couple guys that would want to be in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can think of two.
I mean, if you sure. Come on.
No, it's kind of that's just an avenue. You know, it's
Me
always-
personally.
But then, yeah, I'll just take it as it comes, and I'll be grateful for what I get, and I'm happy to be where I'm at.
Yeah.
I got a phenomenal career, and I have more to come.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, keep at it, brother. Like I said, man, you're one of the most humble guys that I know. I probably would be the first humble guy that I know. No, I'm kidding.
Can we walk off set?
Can we just
Is that a
leave?
thing?
No, I'm totally joking. But yeah, you're one of the most humble guys I know, dude. Happy to call you a friend, dude, and I'm glad you came on with us. Like I said, we could spend even more, hours
Oh, I
just
have more
doing
time.
this, dude. We really could, just because of the level of stories that you and I have kind of had and talked about. But we'll consider it this is just like the intro to Dalton, right?
Oh, there's gonna be a part 2.
There's definitely gonna be a part 2. We'll have to get your dad on too,
Yeah.
because that'll be funny.
Yeah.
Just to hear some of the stuff that's happened, man. That'll be great. But yeah, man, thanks again, brother, for coming
problem.
on, dude. We loved having you.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
won't be the
man.
last time.
This is
Won't
like
be-
we've had this. I feel like these talks since we've known each other, man. So
Yeah.
it's nice to get you on here, someone that we know and we respect and
Yeah.
love. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're gonna go have some bomb ass food that we made. So you guys can just do whatever you're gonna do by the time you hear this. It'll be in the toilet from Dalton's toilet. But yeah, no, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in again. Be sure to check us out on realtalkruss.com. We have everything posted up on there. You guys can watch it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Check out Dalton's IMDb too. And on our website, we're going to have links to all his websites and stuff, so you guys can check him out there. And yeah, that's it for this one, guys. So stay tuned on the next one.
See you guys.
All right.